Okay, so we're going to start with Act 1, Scene 5. If you need some information on the first few scenes of Act 1, go back and look at our live lesson recording from yesterday, which was 1027, and that'll give you a lot of the information that you need to know for those first scenes. In Act 1, Scene 5, we have Lady Macbeth, and we are now in Inverness, which is Macbeth's castle. So we switched scenes. We've moved from the battlefield in King Duncan to Macbeth's castle and home. Macbeth isn't there yet. This is the first time we get to meet Lady Macbeth. And Lady Macbeth, it's his wife. It ought to be all lovey-dovey. Oh, that's my honey. Well, what's happened is that Lady Macbeth has received a letter. And that letter explained about Macbeth's meeting with the witches. And so the first part of this is Lady Macbeth reading the letter aloud, which is an interesting tactic by Shakespeare because the audience was already there. We already know what happened. So why he chooses to have Lady Macbeth read that letter to us is kind of interesting. It is interesting to note that Shakespeare does call her some nice things. I mean, that Macbeth calls her some nice things. So he obviously loves his wife. So this I thought good to deliver the my dearest partner of greatness. Okay, so I wanted to share this with you, honey bunchkins. Calling her those pet names is kind of an interesting note on their relationship. So kind of be thinking about that. Well, what's really interesting is how Lady Macbeth responds. She does not respond as you would think the normal girly lady would respond. Here's what she says. Glamis thou art, and I'm in line 14 of scene 5. Glamis thou art, that means Thane of Glamis, that's what he already was, and Cawdor, because he's been given the Thane of Cawdor now, and shalt be what thou art promised, and you shall be king, because you've already got the other two. So obviously the witches are right. And then she says, but I'm worried about something. Yet I do fear thy nature. I'm too afraid that your nature is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. But I'm afraid that you're too soft to get the kingship quickly. In other words, I'm afraid that you don't have it in you to kill the king. All right. Now, interesting that that's coming from a woman. All right. And she says that her husband is too full of the milk of human kindness. And that term, the milk of human kindness, is talking about a mother's breast milk. So she's comparing Macbeth with a mom. So there are some questions about gender here. Um, Thou wouldst be great. You want to be great. You have ambition. You are not without ambition, but you don't have the illness that goes with it. So you have ambition, but you don't have the kind of that evil nature that would allow you to go after your ambition at all costs. Okay. Um, and so then she kind of talks and says, basically, I am going to get you home. And so I've skipped down to line 24. Hie thee hither, so get you home, so that I may pour my spirits in thine ear. So I'm going to tell you what to do, in other words, and chastise with the valor of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round. And anything that you say against, like, going after Duncan, I am going to nag you about it. Okay, and be like, no, that's stupid. So if you get home, I'm gonna nag you until you decide to kill Duncan. All right, so kind of interesting portrayal of how Lady Macbeth responds. All right, so now hop over to lines 40, 38 or so. A messenger comes and tells Lady Macbeth, King Duncan's coming, and so is Macbeth. They're coming to hang out at your house. Get everything ready. And here's how Lady Macbeth responds. So she just got the letter about Macbeth's prophecies, okay? And already she's decided we're killing the king. So she says this, the raven himself is hoarse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Okay, so the raven, a black bird, ominous omen, is hoarse. In other words, there's a strong possibility something bad is going to happen to Duncan when he comes into her castle. All right, so she's planning on killing him. Then all of a sudden she changes, right? Earlier we saw how she was making Macbeth very feminine. Well, she changes at this point and decides that she's going to make herself pretty masculine. So let's just say she turns into something like this, and she says, Oh, come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts. Very famous line, unsex me here, okay? In other words, I don't need to be a woman anymore. Make me a man. And fill me from the crown to the toe full of cruelty, all right? I don't need to be a soft, lovey-dovey woman. Make me an evil man, okay? Make thick my blood. Stop up the access and passage to remorse. I don't want to have any kind of feelings that would stop me from being able to kill the king. Um, come to my woman's breast and take my milk for gall, and gall would be like bile. You murdering ministers talking to the spirits, and that's an apostrophe. Okay, so that is that portion. Macbeth comes in. So Lady Macbeth's all, but, oh, honey, you're back. Yay, great. That's fabulous. But she says, hey, the king's coming. Well, he's not going to leave again. All right. And then remember she said as soon as Macbeth gets here, she's going to like talk in his ear and nag him and make sure that he does what she wants. So here's what she says. Hold your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, and I'm in line 64 now of scene 5. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. Okay, remember, appearances in this play are deceiving. So she's saying, hey, Macbeth, look like you love the king, but be conniving and evil. All right, but hide that. Don't let him see that. Okay, and Duncan already admitted back in scene 4 that he is not able to tell what people really feel. Thus, he thought Cawdor was his friend before he rebelled against him. Well, same thing's going to happen with Macbeth. Thinks Macbeth is his buddy, is loyal. He's not. Okay? And so they decide, all right, fine. We will, Macbeth says, hey, we'll talk about this later. And Lady Macbeth's like, nah, I'm taking care of business. We're killing Duncan. No more to be talked about. Okay? So scene 6 just has Duncan arrive, and he's like, hey, thanks for having me at your house. And they're all like, you're king, you're awesome. Of course we want you to be at our house. And then that brings us to scene 7 of Act 1. And we have this really interesting wavering of Macbeth. Okay, so this is Macbeth's soliloquy. He's walking in his castle all by himself, scene 7, and this is what he says. If it were done, when 'tis done, when 'twere well it were done quickly. So if we're going to do it, it's good that we just go ahead and do it. And doing it means killing King Duncan. Okay? If the assassination could trammel up the consequences and catch with the Circe, success. But this blow might be the be-all and the end-all, okay? If I knew that if I killed King Duncan, that would be the end of it, I would be king, I wouldn't have to worry about anything else ever, then I'd go ahead and do it. Here upon this bank and shoal of time, we jump to the life to come. But in these cases, we still have judgment here, that we but teach bloody instruction, which being taught, return to playing the inventor. I can't guarantee that in this world, if I kill Duncan, somebody won't come after me. So he's wavering. Here, and then he says, plus I have this guilty conscience. He says, he, meaning Duncan, is here in double trust. First, I am his kinsman. He's related to Duncan and his subject. So I should be loyal to Duncan because I'm related to him, because he's my king, and in the next line, line 14, strong both against the deed. Then as his host. Okay, and being a host was, that was a huge responsibility. You were charged with taking care of anybody within your castle. So he's related to Duncan. Duncan's his king, and Duncan's a guest in his house. 3 reasons why Macbeth is required by society and morality in his mind to protect Duncan, and here he is thinking about killing him. Okay. And then he says, besides, Duncan has borne his faculties so meek, he hath been so clear in his great office. He's been a great king. The angels are going to talk about what a great king that he was. So skip down then to line 25. I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only ambition. Here he says it. I have no cause to kill Duncan. Not one. He's not been a bad king. He's done nothing that would merit his death. The only reason I would kill him is because I want to be king. All right? And so he's recognizing, he's like, do I do it? Do I not do it? I don't know. Well, he starts to waver. Well, in comes Lady Macbeth with her craziness. Lady Macbeth. Okay? And Macbeth's like, hey, honey, we're not going to do this anymore. Let's just leave him be, and we don't need to attack him. And Lady Macbeth says, was the Hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it slept since? In other words, coward? Um, you want you want to have all the things you want, but you want to be a coward. You can't do both. Remember, she's getting nagging him in his ear. And she's like, whoa, dude, I just want to be a good man. Okay? And Lady Macbeth says, you're no man. Okay, and I'm in line 48. If you did it, if you killed Duncan, then you were a man. Okay, and to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man. And then she says, I'm more manly than you are. I'm tougher than you are. She says, I have given suck to an infant and know how tender it is to love the babe that milks me, to feed my baby. But I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from its boneless gums and dashed the brains out, she said, had I so sworn to do as you have done to this. Okay, so if, like you, if I had promised that I would kill Duncan, before I would go back on my word, I would take my baby nursing at my breast and dash its brains out on a rock. Remember, I told you there was a motif of dead babies? Lady Macbeth got that. So Macbeth says, but what if we fail? And Lady Macbeth says, but screw your courage to the sticking place and will not fail. So decide, be brave, man up. And then they come up with the plan. Okay, so here's the evil plan. I am going to get his 2 guards drunk, okay? So they won't remember what's going on. We'll go kill him, and then we'll frame the 2 guards for killing Duncan. And Macbeth is like, oh my goodness, my wife is crazy. And she says, bring forth men, children only, for thy undaunted mettle should compose nothing but males. In other words, Lady Macbeth, you are like one tough dude. So I hope you only have boys for kids, because women, little girls wouldn't be able to handle you. And so they have a plan for Act 7, which leads then into Act 2. So that's the end of Act 1.